Yeah, welcome everybody to this week's webinar. We're going to be joined by Simon, our CEO. And so that I don't butcher his introduction, I'm going to leave it to him to introduce himself and take it from here. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the question and answer box. And yeah, let's get started.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah, and hey, everybody. Very nice of you to join us here today. I'm here to talk today about creating great content that ranks, because that's kind of the purpose of SEO. And we're going to be using some natural language processing and some software tools to help us do that in the most efficient way. Because I don't know. So just a little bit about me. I'm co-founder and CEO of Dragon Metrics. And I've been doing SEO since 2007. It makes me sound old, but that is what it is. And I got started on the agency side, both in the USA, and I lived in China for 6 years, and I was working at agencies in Hong Kong. And at least for me, and I think the same is true even today, even though I haven't done it personally for a long time on the agency side, is that content is so critical to the SEO process and being successful, but it's so time consuming and so challenging to get right. And that's just creating good content, and then getting it to rank is even harder. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Some tips and tricks, hopefully some actionable things about how to get started. So, as CEO of Dragon Metrics, in addition to all the typical CEO stuff that I do, one thing that I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but I'm the principal designer of the platform as well. So I'm kind of designing every screen, every report in the app, and kind of deciding what are we going to build and how is it going to look. And the reason why I mentioned that is, what I'm trying to do here is I'm taking all the, knowledge and experience I've had in the SEO world, and, talking with customers, doing a lot of interviews, talking to people in the industry, finding out what they need, what processes that they do, and translating those processes into workflows that can be achieved in software. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Just a second so we can look at something besides my mug here. And so one of the most recent things that we've been working on, that we've launched, is called Content Writer. And this is a tool that helps you write good content that ranks. And so what I wanted to kind of do today is, pull back the curtain a little bit, to talk about what was the thinking that went into this tool. We started not with the idea for the software. We started with the workflow. What kind of data do we need to see as SEOs when we're writing content? What help do we need? What are our pain points? That kind of thing. And so I wanted to, we had a workflow, and then we translated the software. So I wanted to kind of talk about what that workflow is. First, we're going to look at Dragon Metrics, as we go through it, but the fundamentals are the same, so that you can use these processes, whether using Dragon Metrics, another content tool, or just your brain and Google search, because it's all going to be the same. The process is fundamental. So, getting started here, I find a good place to start, and apologies for getting so basic here, but I think the content creation process starts kind of a little bit after keyword research in the process of things. But before we get started on how to create content, I find it useful to think about how search engines work. And I know that's very fundamental, but hopefully just take a second. Because I think that it's fundamental, but a lot of people are not thinking about it in this way. Remember, the goal of search engines is when somebody types in a query. I'm going to do this one right here. Best mechanical keyboard. A mechanical keyboard is what I'm typing on right now. Maybe you can hear the clicks. It's just a clicky type keyboard. Okay, so what Google's trying to do is they need to understand when somebody types in a query, what is it that they're looking for? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to learn? What are they trying to understand? And then they need to look at every single URL on the entire internet and handpick what is the best URL on the web that will answer the searcher's query. What are they looking for? What's going to be the best here? Um, Right. So, coming from the agency world, I would actually, I'm probably not suited that well for agency side, to be honest, because what I would do is, hopefully in a nice way, but I would challenge our clients when they would come to me and they say, I want to rank for this keyword, and this is our existing content, and maybe we're not willing to create new content. And I would say, well, why should Google rank your content number one? That is the fundamental question that we're going to start with, because you need to have a great answer to that question. If you don't have a really good answer for that question, Google essentially is in a dereliction of their duty. If they take your garbage content and rank it number one above all these others, why? They're not doing their job. People are going to get fed up with the results, and in theory, antitrust suits aside, in theory, they would move to a competitor and Google would lose. So you need to have a reason. Why should you be ranking number one? And saying, well, because I want to is not a good enough reason. So it all starts with the SERP. The first thing I would say is for a targeted keyword, check out who's ranking for this and look at their content. Look for why is it great and think, why is Google ranking this one number one? And what is good about it, and where are the weaknesses? Because no matter how good a piece of content is, there's going to be things that it doesn't do perfectly. So what's missing? What could we do better? And if we say we're looking at number one, number two, number three, number four, if we say I can't create better content that's going to answer the searcher's query than the top 5 results, then either choose a different keyword or keep thinking until you can answer that question about what can I do better than what's already there. Because if not, you're just hoping that Google is not doing their job correctly, essentially. Now, because it all starts with the SERP, and that's what we're talking about next. We talk about search intent. Remember, I said the number one job is the first going to say, what is the searcher looking for? And we call that search intent, essentially. Now, at the most basic level, that's you've probably heard of commercial, informational, transactional, navigational. What is the searcher wanting to do? And most concepts fall under one of those 4, but it's so general. We need to move past it. SEO tools can give you that. So in Dragon Metrics, when you do a keyword research query, and almost every tool does this as well, they'll show you the search intent. Okay, when somebody types in best mechanical keyboard, they're looking to buy or they're on that buying path. But that's just not enough. There's more to search intent than just one of those 4 labels. Let me give an example. When somebody is searching for the query, let's go back to Google, because everything starts with the SERP when it comes to content. Let's think about my favorite website, sweetwater.com. I'm a musician and I love keyboards and synthesizers. So let's think about, we're sweetwater.com. We want to rank for the keyword keyboard. Okay. So, all right, let's optimize for the word keyboard and let's try to rank number 1. And we work really hard and we say, it's not working. Why not? Check this out. Let's search for the word keyboard. What do we get? Wait a minute. I think we're in the wrong neighborhood, right? So they're both keyboards, right? These are all showing the ones that you type on, not the one that you make music with, right? So the search intent will show you, hey, this is transactional. That's great. Okay, we're looking to buy. We're an e-commerce site. That's great. But that's not enough, right? You need to go deeper into the search intent. So what I really recommend is studying the SERP. First off, find out, are you in the right neighborhood? And for this keyword, we are not in the right neighborhood because musical keyboards is not what Google has decided that most people are looking for when they type in the word keyboard, because almost everybody using a computer uses a keyboard, but they're not necessarily a musician. So we want to make sure that we're in the right neighborhood. And an SEO tool, unless you look at the SERP, just the search intent there is not going to be enough, right? So another part of search intent is the length. What are people looking to do when they're in that? And part of that is, are they in the mood to read or not? So let's try this out in Dragon Metrics with the content layer. So I'm going to type in best mechanical keyboard. I can get started, and it's gonna, do a keyword research query, and I can add additional keywords to target. I'm not gonna do that right now, and I'm gonna skip that step for now. Okay, so what we do is we're gonna show you who's ranking in the top 10 results, and we're gonna show you the word count for each one. And first of all, what I can see is some of these are decently long. Now we can get even more detail if I go to the Customize tab and go to length. Now I'm going to see, look, the smallest one is only 500 words, but the biggest one is almost 4,000 words, and the median and mean are around 2,000. That means that people are probably in the mood to read when they do this query. But let's alter our keyword just a little bit. Let's do, instead of best, let's do mechanical keyboard. I want to show you how this contrasts. And here, for the most part, let's go into this. Okay, the length is a little bit shorter, not a lot, but a little bit shorter there as well. So the SERP is the best way to get started here. So again, let's do mechanical keyboard in here. And we do have a Google Shopping here. And we have this one right here. This is a clear sign of search intent, of saying that this is a transactional keyboard in images. But if I put best mechanical keyboard, what I'm trying to show here is now there's a little bit less shopping. There's still lots of shopping, but there's more long form articles here that we're trying to look at. So these are all parts of search intent, is length and things like that. And what are they looking to do? So Dragon Metrics, as we're recommending, okay, we should write this many words. We are going to put that into the platform. So as you're writing your content, let's go here into content like that, and you can actually write this. We're going to keep track of how many words that you're writing, and so if I paste my content in here, there we go. We'll keep track of how many words that you're writing and whether it's falling in the recommended range here. But that recommended range should not be treated as this is what's definitely going to rank. And here's where we need to take a moment to talk about what some other tools do. The purpose of this is not to criticize other tools. It's really just to put you in the driver's seat to make sure that you know how to create good content. And the problem that I'm referring to is a lot of tools use what they call I think they call it content score, right? And they say we've got this patented algorithm that measures 10,000 different variables, and we can say this is quality content versus this one. This is good. This one is bad. The problem is that's very dangerous to rely on those kind of metrics. Because the kind of things that they're relying on when they put together that quality score, that content score, are not necessarily correlated with good quality content. So let me give a couple of examples here. Here is an example of, so first off, the main two problems is that they rely on problematic metrics. And the second is that they're really easy to game. So here's an example. I'm not going to name the tool. But this got a perfect score in a content tool. This has a content score of 100. It's just copy and paste the same ridiculous sentence over and over and over again. But the sentences are short, the paragraphs are short, and we use a lot of keywords. It's quality content. Total garbage. Okay. And that's because, again, they're relying on a lot of problematic metrics. Now, one of these is readability score. You might have seen this. And I understand this comes from a good place. Nobody wants to see long run-on sentences. But the way that this score works, it's not appropriate to be used. It was designed in the 1940s to measure a textbook level, and just for the English language. And I think it's useful. The easiest way, I'm not a big math person, but at least the simplest way I can explain it is that it's based on the number of words in a sentence and the number of syllables in each word. That's pretty much it. So that doesn't, in my opinion, that does not say whether something is readable or not. Sometimes sentences need to be a little bit longer. Sometimes you need to use a word with more than 2 syllables. That's just the way it is. And it can be perfectly readable. But that's all these readability scores measure. Words in a sentence and syllables in a word. That can be really problematic, especially this is only meant for English. So if you use this for like German, where the words, even small ones like 15 letters long, it's just not appropriate. It is not appropriate. And so you end up with a really problematic thing. So why am I even talking about this? One is that it can be really dangerous to rely on a score like that. Let me pull back up my content. It can be dangerous to rely on this. We hear stories all the time where we say, I'm a freelance content writer, and I got my content sent back by my client because it got a 80% content score, and the client requires 100%. Oh my goodness! Do not do that. That is that affects people's livelihood. But even worse is it's going to affect the quality of the content on your website, and it's going to give you a false sense of security. Everybody likes to light up all the green bars and stuff like that and get to 100%. But it gives you a false sense of security to say, oh, I got 100% content score. I have good content. Time to move on. I should rank. And that's just not how it happens. So instead, what we recommend, and this is how we designed it in Dragonmetrics, is we called it goal completion score. Now, truth be told, it looks at a lot of the same things that a content score looks at. But the difference is we're putting you in control of how we define those metrics and which metrics that we look at. So you can use your own best knowledge to decide, yes, this is something I want to look at, or no, it's not really that important. So for example, when we're talking about word count, these are correlated, but there's a difference between correlation and causation, right? Correlation is not the same thing. So we say that pages that are ranked on page 1 have this many words. It doesn't mean that all you have to do is write this many words and you're going to rank on page 1. It's correlated with it, but we recommend you use your own best judgment. If you say, I've got a lot to say and it's going to be really quality, groundbreaking work here, delete that maximum and say, I'm going to go way past this because on this article, I've written 4,000 words and that is just fine. So the goal completion score lets you define, there's presets. So you can say like, tell me what to do exactly based on what's already ranking. Open says, don't worry about what's already ranking. Just worry about SEO best practices, and guided is somewhere in between, but they can come in and tweak each one to be exactly what you think is going to need to be done. So that when you share this with your content writer, you've already gone in here and you've said, this is what I want the content writer to do. These are my goals. This is what I want them to achieve. And now it's okay to say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Content writer, I need you to get 100% because these are goals that you've chosen. And hopefully they're not really, really prescriptive. It based exactly what's already ranking. So that's how that works. Okay, well, moving on past the completion score, one thing that we want to cover in our content is something called entities. Now we don't have a lot of time to go through. This is a good one. Right, to explain exactly all the details about what entities are. But essentially, the short version is that search engines understand concepts and ideas. They don't necessarily, it's not like, it's different than doing a find and replace. You do Command F on your keyboard and you type something, it has to contain that word exactly. That's not how search engines work in 2024. They understand ideas and concepts and entities and relationships between those. So when you're targeting a keyword, you don't want to just use that keyword over and over again. You want to talk about all the concepts surrounding that topic, not just repeating the same words or synonyms. And Google uses natural language processing and some machine learning to identify those entities and the connections between them. So that's what we've used in Dragonmetrics too. What we've done, we've used Google's own technology, the Google NLP technology to do this. We're analyzing the top 10 results and we're saying, what are the most common entities, the ideas, the concepts that people are talking about? When they talk about best mechanical keyboard, what are they talking about? Well, everybody's talking about typing experience. they're talking about PCB, which I didn't even know, which means printed circuit board. Well, a lot of people are talking about that when they're talking about wrist rest. They're talking about keycaps. They're talking about ergonomics. They're talking about arrow keys and typing feel and Moonlighter. That must be a specific brand, or I don't know what that is. I'm not that big into what mechanical keyboards and stuff like that. So what Google has basically discovered is that the top ranking sites are going to talk about these entities. So you're going to want to cover them inside your content. So we make some general recommendations depending on your style, where we can actually see, how many of these entities you want to use in your content. Or I can't. Okay, so we say check common terms of usage. So out of 100, you can say I want to use 15 of those, or I want to use 25 of those, or you can set the goal there, and that way we'll check: are you using these terms? So okay, we're talking about PCB 3 times. Our competitors are using 6 times on average. Well, that's probably fine. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just a general principle. So I can go through here and see, yeah, we're using a lot of these commonly used entities. And that way it's a clear signal to Google that we're talking about the right thing. We're in good company here. And so that's the concept of using entities. And as we're trying to use, we're like, well, we want to talk about, Razor a little bit more. We can actually see what our competitors are doing right here. And this is what we recommend doing. We don't recommend copying and pasting their content, but using for inspiration, say, well, what are people saying about Razer? It's a brand of keyboard, I believe, and those kind of things. So what are people saying about wireless connectivity options? And you can go through those right there in the platform. So we've kind of built that into the workflow here as well. Now, alongside with that, with the concept of entities, we can also do a keyword gap. And so I'm going to look at this one, which is a little bit better. Keywords in common report. Another way to know what entities or what other ideas should we talk about is Google itself. And so you can do that by saying, show me all the keywords that the URLs in the top 5 and the top 10 results are all ranking for. So let's look at this one. This one is mechanical keyboard. So clicky keyboards, all of these top sites, all these top URLs are also ranking for the words clicky keyboards. So chances are you should probably be talking about that too. You want to be in the right neighborhood. Tactile keyboards, we should be talking about that. These are another way of doing entity. It's not direct entity analysis using natural language processing, because Google's done that for us already, because they're already ranking for these keywords. So we're going to show that here. You hit plus, and then it's going to be added to our list of targeted keywords. So that way we can make sure that we're including those in our content as well here. Okay. Next up, once we've kind of identified all the entities that we want to talk about, it's time to put together the outline. And for me, that is the hardest part. It's the most important part, because once you've got an outline, hopefully if you're a talented writer, the content writes itself. As long as you're familiar with it. So to create an outline, there's a couple of techniques that we've got built right into here and that you can use in your own workflow is answering questions. When we talk about search intent, what are searchers looking for? There's no better way to provide it than to just answer the questions around this topic. So that's what we do here. We've identified 50 different questions that people are asking about these keyboards, how to take keycaps off, how to clean it, how to remove the space bar, how to tell if the keyboard is mechanical. All these things with the searches, number of searches each month. And so I say, okay, let's cover this in our content. So all we have to do is check the box and add those as our heading. And I would say, let's add those as H3s to the bottom of the article and hit add content. And then if I go in here, yep, these have been added to my content, and we're creating an outline as you go. So if I put in a mechanical keyboard, and I make this a heading 1, now we can see it's creating the outline for me as I go. And this helps me stay organized by looking at the outline in this way, rather than just throwing a bunch of text in there. So I'm creating an outline as we go, and one of the best ways is by answering the questions directly. So that's a great way to do it. The other way that you can draw inspiration is by looking through your competitors' outlines. Okay, they don't have an outline right on the page, but they do a little bit by looking at their headings. If they're following best practices, then the H1 through H6 tags should have their headings here, should be basically following a typical outline format. So that's what we've done. We've taken all top 10 results. Wow, I mean, these guys are really, really using a lot of headings. So we can go through our competitor headings. And this is great for gleaning ideas for what should we do here. Now, it's important not to just plagiarize. We don't want to, it's okay in the questions to use it verbatim. We don't want to just use our competitors' headings verbatim, but we can use it as inspiration. So what we can do is we say, oh, let's talk about budget picks. We should talk about that. We can say, 10 keyless mechanical keyboards. We want to include that. We want to talk about, this particular model and this particular model, and we want to talk about how to select it and those kind of things. So we can actually create our outline by picking and choosing concepts, not exact words, but concepts from our competitors as well. And we make it really easy to do that. So we recommend rewriting anything that's proprietary. If it's just the name of, if it's the name of a product, you can probably get away with that. But if it's something a little bit more proprietary, you want to rewrite it. You don't want to plagiarize that content. So you can add it directly to your content, and there we go. And we're creating our outline as we go there. So those are some other great ways to glean ideas from your competitors there. And finally, this isn't necessarily included in the content creation process, but as soon as you create the content, you're going to want to create backlinks to it as well. And so we do a backlink. That one's not super interesting. Do we got another one? I think we've got a little bit better one here. We're going to do a keyword, a link gap, or a links in common, to say, everybody in the top 10 is getting backlinks from these particular sites. These are where you want to go as well to get backlinks from if you want to rank for this particular keyword, because that needs to be part of your content strategy as well. Even if you're not doing it directly during the content process, it's kind of the next step, and you should be thinking, well, who's going to want to link to this? And that needs to be considered as you're writing the content. And so what we recommend is using all those things. We're creating our outline and we're putting it into our content, and all of those things that we talked about, it's right here in the sidebar in Dragonmetrics. So we've got the people also rank for keywords, so I can add them to our targeted list. We've got a competitor headline, so if I want to add that directly to my content, right at the top as an H1, I can do that right there. We've got our competitor titles and then descriptions, and then we can also create a brief. So a good content brief, essentially, that outline and the targeted keywords and the targeted entities, that's a big part of your outline. But we still need to go further to talk about, this is just a sample that we include in every one of our briefs, but you can delete and start from scratch. Say like, what's the purpose of the page? What's their tone of voice? Who's our targeted audience? What are they trying to do? What are their pain points? How do we solve these? Here's what our competitors are doing that we really like. What's the call to action? And anything else that they need to say. So that way, as they're coming in here and they're running the content, you can just scroll down to brief, and they're going to see all that text right in there, so they can follow along, make sure they're trying to improve their score according to the goals that you set, and also looking at the additional instructions that are here as well. So those are some quick ideas about content creation, and let's open things up for questions. Happy to help if anybody has anything that they want to discuss.
Thank you, Simon. That was super interesting. So, anybody got any questions for Simon at all? Don't be shy. No question's a silly question. I'm not sure that we do have any questions today.
I think I just covered the topic so thoroughly. I didn't leave anything out. There's no questions that could possibly be asked.
Exactly. Well, look, if anybody does have any questions anytime, you are more than welcome to reach out. Oh, I do see some comments, but not any questions. If anybody does have any questions, you're more than welcome to connect with Simon via LinkedIn, or you know where to find him on Dragonmetrics. So yeah, any final thoughts, Simon, that you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, that's really it. If you are a Dragonmetrics customer, you already do have access to Content Writer. It's over here. So feel free to give it a try. If you're not a Dragonmetrics customer, these same ideas can still be done. You don't need Dragonmetrics to do most of them. It just makes it a little bit easier. But there's also a free trial if that is something that you're interested in as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.